Here we are one more time. I'm by myself. This is the fourth time I've done this bit. It's not gonna land. Hey, what's up? It's me, and I'm here with Polar Bear Mike.
What's up? What's up?
What's up, man? You ready for this epic interview?
Yeah.
This is gonna be a good one for you gamers out there.
I don't know about all those words that you're
Yo, you ready to rise and grind and get this bread?
No, you gotta stop. You gotta go.
Why? Are you saying that's not it, Chief?
Yeah, that ain't it for real. That ain't it. My God.
I'm just trying to speak your language.
That's not my language.
That's your language.
Not me.
If you want to do that bit again, you can totally do that bit again. It's going to be bad, but...
Oh, we're not done.
I stopped recording to reset that.
Oh, you fucker! Hit record.
It's already recording.
He stopped it. Wait, we're recording now?
Yes.
When did you start recording?
About...
God damn it, Alex! When did you stop recording?
I stopped recording after I got up. A little bit after I got up.
I don't remember when he got up. Anyway, I was making fun of Polar Bear Mike for killing aggro. That's really
For killing aggro?
Yeah, aggro comes in every day and he goes, "Hey gamers, ready to rise and get this bread?" And we all like roll our eyes.
That ain't me. That ain't me.
And then somebody says something and he goes, "Not me."
That's Snoopy, and the other stuff is exclusively Ron. That is just Ron. That is Ron doing everything Ron's way.
Extremely Ron Jobbert voice. No, why would you betray me like this? Yeah. I don't know why I always do this for Ron Jobbert.
Well, he does that. Yeah, he does that.
This is just look at my hands. This is how I'm Ron Jobbert.
I am socializing. That's right.
Hava Megillah Hava.
Oh my God.
But so aggro has just become a walking meme, and I largely blame you.
I swear it's not me.
You were just about to say not me.
Well, no, not me, but that's Snoopy's thing. That's Snoopy. That's Snoopy's thing, and the rest of it is not me. There's maybe a couple things, like, there's stuff he says on cast that comes from me.
Yeah.
A lot of that comes from me.
That's just what he brings here.
That's actually from Scream. That's just something he brings. That's Scream.
Something he brings.
That's Scream. Yeah, I love that. That's the only thing Scream has ever said, but I'm like, dude, that's dope. I like that. Yeah.
I mean, so contrary to what you might get from this interview that we're talking, so you're actually a winner. You seem like a loser, but you're actually a winner. Welcome to the unofficial interviews, by the way, motherfucker.
Heck yeah, dude, let's do it.
You just call me Hindu because I'm the savage one?
Jeez, yeah, see, like that's got to go. That's got to stop. What? Okay, hold on. Why I got beef with you guys starting to call him the gambler? And
Gambler.
I either asked you or I asked Aggro, and he's like, yeah, Hindu wanted us to call him that.
Yes.
But why though?
Because he gambles.
Yeah, but...
Well, so here's the thing. Ever since Hindu came on the scene, he's always seemed like a budget Batman villain. Like, couldn't you just see him?
Yeah.
I've broken out of Arkham Asylum.
Yeah.
And like with his accent and like the way.
But he's not like I don't think he's the movie one. He's like the cheesy Batman, like kids comic villain. Like that's what he is.
That, or you ever see the Tim Burton ones from the '90s where the Penguin with the Penguin?
I think I don't know. I mean, I was born in '96, so that's probably before my time.
I've aged. Anyway, Hindu Man just seems like a budget Batman villain, and the Savage didn't really fit the villainous figure, and so he likes to gamble. Like literally, he goes to the casino. We played poker last year at Worlds.
A lot, Cooper is the most frustrating to play with. Cooper's dumbass, just all ins, like just all ins randomly. He's got like three pairs like off the flop and a 3 in his hand. He's just like pushing it all in. He loves it.
I mean, how do you think we've gotten the past couple of formats for tournaments? So as we come into Worlds, which I actually think is an awesome format, by the way, Cooper, don't fire me. Real talk, I actually really like this format. I think regular season into like mini worlds, into real worlds.
Right.
I think it's cool and it makes sense for once. So we're looking at worlds, and you guys kind of leapfrogging over the competition. You're a world champion, and I'm going to say, I'm sure you've seen me say it, which is why I want to say it here with you and get your take on it. So when you guys won the world championship, I was never on the E United train, right? And you guys won the world championship. At that point, everybody has to shut the fuck up. I kind of said that you guys overperformed and you guys there's no world where I say you didn't deserve it or it was a fluke, but you guys maybe are this good and you played this well at Worlds to win that championship. And over the course of this year, you've now reached that level, and I think you really are. We view it
a similar way. Like Benj and I, like Saw or Benji, whatever you want to call him, is normally like the other person who does a lot of like we're the people who like kind of approach it from like, you know, how we want to play, like strategically, like where we see the game going, that type of stuff. And we don't view it as, we view it more as like our ceiling, and I still think, or actually maybe even more so now, I think our ceiling is higher than other teams when all 5 of us are on. Like a few of us are really streaky players. Like when Panda's going off, he's nuts. Like Scream especially has like consistency problems like in the past, like that type of stuff. I think when all 5 of us are like at the top, I think we're near impossible to beat. And I think like all year we hadn't really hit that. I still don't think we've hit that, where like all 5 of us are on point. And then yeah, that tournament, like I remember we were prepping for it and people would like, you know,
Worlds you're talking about.
Yeah, for Worlds. And people get like nervous and they're like, you know, we're worried about like, oh well, what if Obey does this, or what if we play mouse and blah blah. And like I'll always do the prep. Like I always watch like every game they played like the past 2 months, like check all their drafts, check everything. But in the end, like you just have to play well. Like you can't like play poorly and have the best prep and win. Like you have to have good prep or the best prep and then also play the best, and then you can win. So I think it like took stress off, and then all 5 of us just had sick tournaments, and then or a sick tournament, and it was like, I mean, I think it's the most dominant Worlds ever. We only lost 1 game.
All the stars aligned.
Right? Yeah. We only lost 1 game. We probably shouldn't have, like, not shouldn't have, but we could have won that game as well. So I mean, yeah, it was just, yeah, the stars kind of aligned. I think that's like the best time to hit your potential, obviously. Yeah, like pretty obvious statement, but yeah, I think we just like happened to hit our potential at that. And yeah, I mean that I've talked to Sod a lot, and who knows if we'll recapture it. I mean, that's kind of the stress of like working through the entire year. Like, do we ever hit that point again? Like, was that like we're gonna hit our peak once and then that's the cap for this team? Like, is that it? Like sometimes like I'll use a team like Envy that I was on season 3. Like I never got the most out of that team. Like Cyclone was still really, really good in solo. Like he had games in Gauntlet Land when we were on ALJ, and even versus Energy, he's like 7-0 as Vamana. Like he's going off, but I couldn't get that the entire split. And like Kiki, his mid god pool, like we didn't get the most potential out of that. Like Skeely, his learning curve. Like there have been teams where like you don't get the most out of it, and we did this team, but it's like trying to get it more than once, and at that point you're like becoming greedy, basically.
Sure, yeah, I feel you on that. At the same time, I think that, you know, the second half of that, you know, conversation was, I think that over the past year that you guys have kind of captured that.
A little bit. I mean, at times, the problem is like, I mean, just being blunt without sounding like an arrogant ass, like, the problem is the reality is like NA is as a whole is very weak. Like
yes.
we can tell like playing versus NA teams feels a lot easier. Like when we first got Baskin, like we didn't even have to do drafts correctly. Like we could just pick pressure here, boom, win. Yep. That's it. Like we just played the game. We just hit our buttons and we would win. And the only team that really challenged that the entire split was Splice. And even then, like, I mean, this isn't to discredit Splice because I've spent a lot of time with Aurora and we've like talked about stuff, and I think they are a really good team. We've skimmed them a lot. I think they're a really sick team right now. But like at the time, people kind of overhyped that win because at the time we were like 8-0. We already locked first seed. Like we were done. Like we were 8-0. We didn't like prep for them the way we should have. And like we've gone games where we didn't prep for people, but they like hard punished us for it, and like they really like smacked us for it. And I was like, man, like that's the first time I felt like that in a while. Because even when Baskin was on SSG and they used to beat us, it didn't feel like they beat us because they were smarter. It felt like we would die early and they would snowball. Like it was just like really like generic wins. It wasn't like we were being out strategized or anything like that, which is how I feel against Rival sometimes. Like versus Rival, it's like we come in with a game plan, they either guess it or are able to handle it, and they like adapt mid-set, and then you go through like changes throughout the set, and then you can see they're a really, really good team. I never felt that with any other team, and we started to feel that a bit with Splice. So I'm actually like, I'm really glad that happened, and our scrims have been super productive because of it.
You mentioned the transition with Baskin. Obviously, Venenu, you know, was a fantastic look for your team, and we spoke earlier. Even you said you predict him to have a crazy tournament.
Yeah, he's a sick player.
Him to pop off at placements. let's talk through that. That's a big roster change. So let's give it the credence that it's due, and we'll start at the beginning. Where did this decision start?
So, without going too much into personal details, stuff like that.
Yeah, I just mean who decided to leave or come.
We decided to kick Ven because we found out we could acquire Baskin. We knew Baskin would leave, so then we kicked Ven.
So if that wasn't the case, you guys were sticking around with Veneno?
99% chance, yeah.
If you couldn't get Baskin, but I mean that's a world where I was saying if Kobe shows up. If 96 Kobe shows up, then, all of a sudden you're talking about it.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. With Ven, it was, there was just a lot of stuff. There was the stuff we couldn't control. He couldn't control. It was really unfortunate. And, we missed a lot of scrims throughout the year because of it. We had a lot of, inter-team conflict that didn't get resolved perfectly. I certainly could have handled it better, which, I kind of put a lot on myself to do that. And, I was kind of too hesitant. I didn't want to share his details with everybody. He had only told me. There's a bunch of stuff. But anyways,
it sounds like a mess. Yeah.
Yeah, it was a mess. We tried to handle it as well as we could have. It ended up the conflict went for a while, and then on top of that, our spring split was really bad, so people got stressed about that. And then there's people graduating, blah blah blah, and then we go to Summerland and we spanked Energy and Scrim. That they've talked about it multiple times. We were hard stomping them, really hard. And we were thinking, oh, we're going to win this land. We felt confident going into it because we were stomping SSG and Scrims, and then we stomped Energy and Scrims, and we're okay, we were already close to beating Rival. We pushed them to game 3. We actually won the first game, and then they won the second and third in Springland, so we're okay, well, we were way worse back then, so we're just going to snowball through this. And then it just obviously didn't go that way, and we just, had individual people struggle, just people played off, people just positioned poorly or wouldn't ult in a team fight, an entire team fight wouldn't ult, just stuff like that. And it was just it feels like that type of thing that I said about Worlds where all the stars were aligning. It felt like we were hitting that upswing and we were okay, Panda and I are good, Benji and Scream are on the same page, Ven's doing well, everyone's good. And then we get to the LAN and then it crumbles and then we're okay, well, something went wrong. We have to figure out inter-team stuff, and also there's these things that we can't control. It might be best to just shake up the environment, and we're going to take the best player off the second best team. So then it just seemed even though it hurt all of us to do it, it just felt like it was the best business decision. So we did it.
You and I have spoken about roster changes, not about this one specifically, but going back in the past, because you're a traditional sports fan, and you're like Aggro and I, which is I think this mentality and the way of looking at things is why Aggro and I are casters. Aggro went to school for it.
Right, yeah.
I tried and quit to take this job. Because it's about there's a game on the field, there's a game off the field.
Yeah.
Right? And we've talked about making roster changes, and sometimes the player is fine, but oh well, you're the one we choose to switch up because the team needs to shake up and they can wake it up. Veneno, I think, was kind of like you said, there was some inner turmoil going on, but it's just kind of like a bonus that Baskin was available.
Yeah.
Like you said, you were going to stick with Ven. So
yeah.
he's a strong player in his own right. He's going to do well for Space Station. We'll touch on that later. But Baskin has looked out of his mind. I mean, this has been Baskin's season, moving to mid lane, realistically. We've watched him just pick Apollo and then win the game because he picked Apollo.
Yeah.
What was he like coming in? Because Veneno and Baskin are very different people.
Yeah.
So what was it
they
like?
are. Oh, yeah, they are.
So what was it like when Baskin first joined the team?
So at first, something we were worried about was that Baskin's teams have all become Baskin's team,
teams.
His identity, right? So that shit ain't gonna fly with us. With me, Salt and Scream, we are very dominant personalities with our opinions, the way we think, stuff like that. So before we did it, we had to talk with Baskin. We were this is how we do stuff. This is how we view the game. This is how we want to play. And Baskin came into it with an open mindset of he actually agreed and he saw the flaws and stuff that they were doing before and wanted to change. So at the start, we were working together really well. I still think we're working together fine. We have a lot of arguments, the team, every team does, learning curves and figuring out how we want to play. But he's just he is just the definition of a lane player from a traditional MOBA, a league or whatever game you want to pick, right? Where they're really dominant in their individual lane and then are really mechanically gifted and then like try to snowball a game. Like that's like that like archetype that like he fits. Like that's his like box that he's really good in. And I think in a world where you're trying to like compete with the top teams and we're like going against like energy and stuff like that with Yim, and I think it's really valuable to have that type of player because I think a lot of people view the I'll get into this in a second, I guess, but people view the deal like when we swap them like the wrong way. Like it's not about Baskin's God pool versus Ven's God pool, for example. It's about what Baskin's God pool allows us to change or stops the other team from doing. Like, for example, like Apollo in the spring, even if it's not a great pick, it stops you from running like, it stops you from running like Scylla, for example. Like, you will not make it to that point for that pick to work, so you can completely counter someone's God pool with that style. So there's like a lot of stuff in that. I think the other thing people kind of misunderstand is they are like, oh, well, who's the better player, like Baskin or Ven, like individually? And I view it like, I don't view it as like an NBA perspective to use sports. Like, I don't view it as like, you get LeBron, you win. It's not like that. Like, maybe adapting like season 2 was like that, where it's like, you got adapting, okay, that's it, like game over. But I think it's more like, I think it's more synonymous with kind of like the NFL, where there's like 10 quarterbacks who you can win with. And like, these are the group of players that like can be on the best team, and you have to like build a system around them, put the right pieces in place, like kind of make the team like mesh and like understand like everyone is on the same page and that type of stuff. I think like at the top end, you exclude like maybe LG because like they have, role swap and they have a player moving from Xbox to PC, right? So like other than maybe LG, every team has players capable of winning, every single one of them. It's just about having the correct leadership and the system in place to like make that work and figure out that path to get there.
Yeah, I think that's my favorite thing about season 5. Like people come into my stream all the time and they're like, what's your favorite season? It's mine. Mine's season 2. And I go, first of all, shut the fuck up. And I always say season 5, and they go, oh, high res shield.
Season 5 is really good, yeah.
And I go, look, I don't even work for high res anymore. Skillshot Media, that's what's up. But like, it's one of those things where it's like, no, it's multiple teams can win multiple ways. It's not season 2 or 3 where like adapting just beat you because he was better at Smite Game. I think that you guys, I think that Splice, I think that Energy, I think all 4 teams that made it to DreamHack play 4 different Smite games. And I think that's really, really interesting.
Yeah. Maybe
like 3.5. There's some similarities there between.
There's a little bit of similarities between like us, Dig, Energy have like a little bit of overlap with each other, but it's like, it's very small.
Yeah, there's a lot of different strategies, and that's how I've been framing my conversation to the fans when it comes to Baskin versus Venenu. I've also been talking about better fit, right? Venenu just seems like a space station gaming guy, judging from, we know Jeff and Barra for years and how that dynamic works. Venenu seems to kind of fit that situation really well. Does Baskin, I know what I think. Does Baskin fit your guys, both gameplay-wise and kind of in the locker room?
Gameplay-wise, yes. Locker room-wise, he is similar to us, but I don't know if that's a better fit, if that makes sense.
I feel that.
Like, I don't know if it's good to be similar to Scream. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know if that's a good thing that we want to encourage. Like, but yeah, I mean, we all get along, like, on most days. Like, he at least understands, like, we all understand the way each other thinks. Like, I disagree with Baskin a lot, and I'll disagree with Scream, like, a little less than I disagree with Baskin. And, like, Salt may disagree with me more than he disagrees. Like, we all, like, see eye to eye, like, a little bit, but, like, it's just different, like, we each are on, like, a little bit of a different wavelength, but you just have to figure it out. Like, that's just how stuff works.
That's a fantastic conversation. I want to break the fourth wall real quick because one thing that I've been really excited about following your career as a fan and a broadcaster is your ascent to true leadership, right? I was talking to Aurora before, and he kind of, I don't want to say he didn't get it, but I've said this about Splice, where this is kind of the first time where Aurora's team has been so successful.
Yeah, I actually talked to Aurora about that last night. We were talking for a couple hours about it. Yeah,
and so
it's a weird path to take. Like, it's a really weird one to go through for sure.
And with Aurora, he took exception to what I was saying, but it's not to say that he hasn't had success other places. This is the first time he's at the helm. And
he was never like the man. Like on Eager, it was like, DJ and Zap, and then it's like Aurora, and then like even if he was a big like idea guy, he didn't get the credit for it, or like the blame didn't go on him, like that sort of thing. Yeah.
And now, he's kind of driving the ship. You've been doing this for, you won the World
I'd probably
Championship.
say since Envy, yeah, probably.
Yeah, exactly. And again, very similar kind of upbringing, if you will, where you came on with Eager. They were, and I remember saying,
I'm only in the SPL because he left. I mean, that's the only reason. Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember, because I certainly remember way back when you first started playing. We had because you're very vocal, and you and I approach the game very similarly. Like I said, I think if you were a little more shitty, you'd just be a caster.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know about all that.
I don't know about being a little more shitty.
I'd be a lot more shitty. I'd have to be way bad, bro.
Anyway, you piece of shit. I think that we've always been very vocal, and I remember you and I disagreed one time on the timeline, and I remember coming at you and being like, "Yo, 1 or 2 more years, you're gonna mature up, you're gonna get the game, and you're gonna be the guy." I don't know if you remember me saying that to you.
I vaguely remember. I mean, it's just so weird. I feel like Envy was the really big. There were 2 different big transitions, and it was Envy, and then it was Summer Split last year with United when I had quote unquote retired. I was gonna retire and either coach or try to cast or something, and then it came up last minute. With Envy, it was weird because it wasn't my team, and I didn't know Cyclone that well at all, and I didn't know other people, and I tried to figure it out, and then nobody stepped up, so I was like, okay, well, I have to be the person who does this. And then I learned a lot through that, and how to deal with different people. Cyclone was someone he literally had me blocked on Smite. He blocked me because I spam taunted him in a ranked game. But at lands and stuff, we weren't unfriendly or anything. So yeah, I talked to Cyclone a little bit and figured it out. Dealing with Cyclone's different than dealing with Skilly, different than dealing with Keegan. You learn that dynamic.
Oh yeah.
You learn with that you learn differently with that dynamic, and you learn how to make that mesh. And then with United, it was the same thing. And I came into United, and I was like, okay, well, this is a well-established team. I know Chaos is smart. I know that's the way he works. I know Scream has a way he wants to play the game. I'm gonna let them do their thing, and I'm gonna focus on getting a lot better individually myself, which I did, and focus on just being the guy that makes the game fun for them to play, and just kind of joke around, troll around, have fun in scrims. That I did that for a while, and then Scream picked Arachne, and then I was like, that's gotta go. And then I got back to how I was on Envy, and then kind of figured it all out. And I think it's been a really interesting transition. The way I talk to Panda, for example, Panda and I can be very, very blunt with each other. We will say, "What the are you doing?" Go off at each other.
It is my fucking YouTube. You can curse.
Good point. I forgot. Yeah, it's because we're here, right? But yeah, Panda and I will curse at each other. We'll be you missed this, that screwed us, stuff like that. But we get that we don't take anything personally, and it's just it's delivered quick. We get it, boom, done. And with Scream, I have to articulate it more, and I have to explain for a long time, whenever I brought up criticism at the end of each game, I would be even if we won, I would be okay, this Gold Fury was sloppy, I want more ward pressure here, we could have repeat invaded this. I would just go through boom, 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 boom. But if we lost and I did that, he would be yeah, well, you did this, or yeah, well, Benji fed, or yeah, and he would think I'm blaming him, but I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying this is how we play cleaner, this is how you improve it. And so I had to figure out a way to word that where he didn't think I was blaming him, because I can be very aggressive with Panda, but I can't be aggressive with Scream like that. And then with Salt, it's normally I'll type to him at night. I'll type to him this is why it works like this on our side of the map, and this is why Ven's doing this, or this is why Baskin's doing this. Is
Salt's a more soft-spoken guy, even though he's very...
Soft is Salt is more. I said soft. Salt is more kind of methodical or analytical. Salt isn't quick to rush to an opinion. Salt wants to be very sure that we're making the right decision, and we're exploring the correct options, and that we're aware of is Salt and I both really try hard to avoid. Right now would be a good example is we try to avoid getting ourselves into a spot where we judge how good something is based off scrims, which is a meme. Yeah. But I've never thought that, but I've never thought that teams should actually value it that way. But if you're stomping scrims, it can be really hard. And I remember talking to Dig last year when they didn't make Worlds out of Super Regionals, and they were stomping everybody, and they played Chalk Jungle or whatever it was, and they were just beating everyone in scrims, and they made the mistake of, because they were winning with that, they thought that was the reason they're winning, but that's not the reason you're winning. So we try to be very careful to avoid that type of stuff. That's where Salt comes in.
Yeah, he's able to really divvy that out. Yeah, I mean, your leadership is strong. I think you've won a world championship with your leadership being the dominant variable, I guess, for your team dynamic. And the reason I brought it up actually was the conversation that we had before was we just kind of breached this talk about how your team is going, and you said something very interesting. Like I said, a lot of the players here, both at placement stage and HRX, there's heavy leadership involved. And what I thought was very interesting is when I talk to these people and their teams, they go, this is how this works, this is how we make this work. You started the conversation off going like, we all disagree. And I think that is so real. As somebody that's been, both a manager in like offices or manager of talent or even a leader on a team type scenario. I mean, I think that's the most realistic thing I've heard all afternoon.
Yeah, something that I really don't get about teams, and I've like said this to other players, like you share like a little bit of information with each other, not much, but just like the way you think. And something I never got is there are players who like believe that like if a person like has an opinion on their role, that's the final say, it should go. And it like, or like you should avoid confrontation, or you should never be negative. All criticism should be positive. Like there's people who actually think that way.
Wow.
I just think like if you think that way, how do you improve? And I think it's like a lot of it comes from sports. Like you respond differently if your coach yells at you than when he says, hey, like you did this, but it would be better if you do this. Like that is a very, very different narrative in your mind. Like,
and it's different per person as well.
Right, and if you study, I haven't even studied psychology much, but I think it's interesting just the way people respond to different things. But like, if you're into psychology at all, you understand like everybody's going to respond differently, and you have to figure out like what hits a certain like chord with them, and figure that out. And I just think like to avoid conflict is so counterproductive. Like we call ourselves like the most toxic team in the SPL, and I really do believe that. Like I really do believe our scrim environment, like Cardiac will literally mute sometimes. Like he cannot handle listening to it. Like I think
Cody B?
Like we are the most toxic in terms of we're very abrasive and we're very like aggressive and we're very like upfront with how we handle stuff. But at the same time, nobody's unclear of our opinions. We never sugarcoat everything. We're very clear on like what we think people could do better, and we're very clear on like what we think we can improve on, that type of stuff. And like we progress really quickly because of it. And that's like a really big point for us, I think, is to kind of never lose that. And I think as long as you're like passionate about winning and like that's your goal to push that, I think as long as everybody knows each other has their own back, then that's good. And then after games, like, we'll have games like we give Scream a lot of crap because he always thinks he carries no matter what. And Scream like had like a shaky split. For him, I would say it's a bad split. Like for his standards, like it was a bad fall split. And then he had a game, I think, who was it versus? It might have been against maybe SSG. I think they 3-man ganked us in duo at level 1. Aqua came over and I got I got triple stunned at level 1 and I got first blood because of it, and then Aqua TP'd the lane. And Scream played Pele, and he was like 7-0 in 10 minutes. In the middle of the game, we're like, okay, you carried this one. Like this is like we'll give each other credit, but like the whole point is basically like it's good to be toxic. It's good to be argumentative in the right spots. Like you can't go at someone and say you're fucking garbage. Like you can't do that, but you can say I don't think you're like playing this correctly, or I think that you're overvaluing like this god or whatever. Like it's very easy to go through all that. I think more naturally.
Yeah, no, I mean confrontation and conflict are pretty harsh words, but the you can't make an omelet without breaking a few eggs. There's a ton of cliches that go in that direction.
Yeah.
The idea is that like you're going to bang heads if you're going to improve. And I mean, I've done it more artistically in the music world and such, but you're going to be with your best friends and you're going to have a bad show or a bad game, and you're going to have to address it. And I think that's also a note out there. This has kind of become a symposium for young leaders out there, out there in the minor league or whatever. That's a big point too. Is that don't shy away from that confrontation. I think it's a big part of.
If anything, I would encourage it, but just like in the right setting. Like for example, like a really bad time is like in the spring split when we were 0-3. That is not the time to start being aggressive with each other. Like that is not the time, because you will like tear each other apart if you do that. Like that's not the time to be really aggro. So at that time I was more like, okay, like obviously we've missed a lot of scrims, like we really got to pick our shit up. Like if we keep doing this, like not let alone land, like we are going to be really, really screwed. So I went through all that, and then like when we start getting better, I remember we qualified for the spring land. We beat, who did we beat our last match? We beat SSG our last match. We 2-0'd them to qualify, and I remember Trifecta lost to CLG, and we had tiebreaker over CLG, so we were all we were 6-4. CLG was 6-4. We had 2-0'd them like both sets, so we
Sure.
were 4-0 against them, and then Trifecta lost, like they were 5-5. So, and I remember after we found that out and after we made it, I was like, we weren't even happy. I was just like, okay, we made this and we played like shit, and if we keep doing this, we're gonna be screwed. And just like, it was a very unhappy land qualification, I guess is the way to put it. Like it was a very grim way to approach it. Like it almost would have been better for morale if we missed the land, because my speech would have been, okay, we know what we messed up. We missed a lot of scrims. We shouldn't be surprised we missed it. But instead we made it. I'm like, if you fuckers become complacent, I'm going to lose it. Like I will lose my mind for sure.
Hey man, that's important. Yeah, when I was coaching and stuff, like there's, like you said, it's all about the moment. I think that players, and I do this as a commentator too, and I hope you guys notice, there's like a buffer zone. When you guys get off the field, so to speak, like that's your world. And
Right.
And like as a commentator, I just stay the fuck away. But as a coach, I also, like the team I'm coaching, win or lose, I get the fuck out. Unless I'm taking a Gatorade bath, like I'm out of that conversation, and then we can reflect 10 minutes later, because you're endorphins and shit.
That's
you're
something
still going.
Scream actually taught me, and I didn't really, like, it makes sense if you think about it instantly, but like consciously I never like really thought on it.
Think about it.
Yeah, but like Scream got mad at me because when he played Arachne and we lost, and I felt like it should have been such an easy set and like we should be winning against all these teams. Scream got mad at me not because my point was wrong, but because I argued with him directly after a game when I was clearly upset, and like we were like, and that like, yeah, I mean, he probably didn't consciously think of it either. He was just telling me like how he felt about it, and then I like put it together and I figured that out. And I think it is a really like important thing to not be overly
Overly emotional.
overly emotional, but more so like overly judgmental quickly after a win or a loss. Like you have to like decide, like, for example, if you do VOD review, you might think after a set, oh well, this person got picked here and that's why we lost. But then you might see like they didn't even get anything off that pick. They got like a tier 1 tower. Well, where we really lost is like we didn't use our actives in a 5v5, or we like, we messed up an engage, something like that. Like you're not always right about why you lost instantly after you lost. Like that analysis might be off, and I think it's important to avoid analyzing it like that and then making quick decisions and like blaming someone, because then that's really rough.
Analytics and emotions rarely meet, and when they do, they even lesser so are successful.
Yeah.
There is a world where like you need your emotion and your analytics, but I'd say 99% of the time, my numbers are separate from my emotions and my thought processes.
Yeah, I think like it's interesting. Like Blues does, like he releases like SPL stats and stuff, and I more so use numbers to like back up opinions that I already thought. So, for example, I felt like our games were like really quick. I felt like we didn't play a lot of late game scenarios, and on the other side, I felt like Dig only played late game, and they played not like their draft, but like they played late game every single SPL game. And I looked at the average game length like for teams, and ours was like lowest in the SPL at like 27 minutes. Everyone else is above 30, and then I look at Dig's. Everyone else is below 34, and they have 41 minutes a game. It's like a huge disparity.
Yeah.
And there's stuff like that. And then you go through like God win rates, and like, okay, well, we valued this like 100% pick ban rate across the league, but it had like 40% win rate, stuff like that. Like, I never make my opinions off of it, but I use my...
They're supplementary.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they can confirm like what you were already thinking, or maybe like twist that a little bit. And I think it is good. Like I think it's useful, but I think like, I mean, to use a sports analogy, like to build a basketball team off advanced stats, I don't think is like realistic. Like you need people who have like you need that type of stuff.
Absolutely. You know, Moneyball only brought the A's so far.
Right. Yeah.
Right. And that's kind of how I look at analytics. And you know, to use the analogy a little closer to home, that's kind of what the balance team does. Everybody memes like you're making a change based on win rates, but the conversation in that room is much more. Well, so this is the win rate. This is what it feels like to play against a character. And when you're making changes on the team or whatnot, the stats are important. But like you said, either to kind of back up what you were already saying, or maybe you have the opinion and the stats disagree, and now you're looking in a different direction. I never put my stamp on the stats, but the stats are certainly helping me reach for the stamp. Right.
Yeah. But, well, it's kind of like what I said earlier when I said like I view the league more as like a league where there's a lot of competent players at each position. Like. And kind of what I would say off of that is like the idea that you could like build, like you would build a team, right? Like say you're building a team. The idea that you can build a team and start with LeBron and then and like it doesn't matter, like everything else will just fall into place is like crazy, because it might be good to have that player, but like if you're the Warriors and you have a better system, or you're the Spurs, I guess
You
would
can't
be
play 46 minutes a game.
right. Like yeah, like if you're the Spurs are a better example when they like went to the finals and stuff, and they've just always been dominant. Like that's a better example. Like if you have a system in place, they're going to succeed more with better players, but they don't need it to succeed. Like that's the way I think about it. Like I feel like you should be, if you are putting in enough effort, you should be successful to a level. Like something I had I had said this on stream once, and I don't know if I ever really said it publicly, like like archived, I guess.
Sure.
Was I felt like it was an issue if I'm other NA teams, if I feel like I'm outworking you, that's a problem, because I've already, like, if anything, you should get more complacent after you win. Like history shows that, right? Like not you should, but people do get more
People
complacent.
rest on their laurels.
Right, yeah. Like as you win, people get more complacent. And I felt like after SPL games, I would go into spectator and I would watch our stuff and I would watch other teams, and then I would watch like the streams. I would, like, when it gets uploaded on YouTube, I would fast forward through it. I would like watch certain things. Like I remember talking to Aurora about it, and he was like, yeah, other teams, like you can tell they don't prep, but when we play each other, we can tell we prep versus each other. Like we can tell we've watched all your recent matches. We know exactly how you pick and ban, where you're picking each thing. Like we know everything.
Is that preparation what makes you in Splice number 1 and 2?
I think for them, for sure, 100% for them. For us, we did the preparation early and then got really good, and then we can kind of coast a little bit in online games. But for them, 100%, I think they just outworked teams. Like, I mean, they're still very talented, don't get me wrong, but like they 100% outworked people. Like if you're not going through like a pick and ban session with your team and thinking stuff out. I remember we did it versus Bay, and going into, this is Worlds, like going into Worlds, we thought Uller and AMC were by far the best 200s, and we thought AMC was the best. And I looked at all their picks and bans. I'm like, well, they don't prioritize AMC because they can't play it. So they don't play it because they didn't play the same start we did. They did they put 2 in dual lane, we put 2 in mid, and that's
Right.
when we thought AMC was good. So we're like, okay, they don't play the same start. I know they're going to ban that because they don't play it, and it fits our strategy. It doesn't fit theirs. So I knew that was a ban. And then I'm like, okay, well, Uller's the other hunter. Ataraxia played it 1 game versus, at the time, Elevate, which is now Mouse. And I'm like, okay, well, he had a pretty good game on it, but he didn't like hard carry. Like they didn't play off of him. So I'm like, I bet you we can bait that first pick and we can trade stuff. And then we did that, and like we went through it. And I think like picks and bans, I think we like kind of outplayed them a little bit. And then as they adapted, and then it's really easy. Like when you're in that driver's seat, it's really easy to say, okay, they're going to think this pick is a problem. They're going to adjust it. And the pick we thought was Hell because they didn't fight off Duocide. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, Emilzy played Hell. He didn't play bad, but they're going to change that pick. They changed the pick. And then it's just like really quick. You just go through it and you figure it out. And I think if teams aren't doing that, more importantly, if they don't understand how to do that, they are screwed. They will never win. They will never, ever, ever, ever win. It just won't happen. I mean, I feel like that about a bunch of teams. I'm not going to name drop, but like I do feel that about a bunch of teams that like I don't think they understand how to go through that process. And it's not because I'm like God's gift to Smite. Like it's not that at all. Like it's that all the top teams understand that. Like I think like when you talk about coaches, I think Alpha Jackal and Hazer are like really, really good at that. Like
Yes,
they
absolutely.
understand it really well. Like how to adapt mid set. Like I think seeing Alpha Jackal like go yell at his players like between a game, like after they lose, like it's really important to have that type of stuff. I think it's super valuable.
Look at, there were a lot of reasons, and I'm not boiling down Rivals' lack of success at Summer to Alpha Jackal not being there, but I think that was
It's an
actually
impact,
a big,
yeah. It's
definitely
a
big
factor,
part of
yeah.
it.
Like, do they win the land? Probably not. Do they get 6-0'd by Energy? Hell no, they
Yeah.
don't. Like, most likely.
Do you have an eidetic memory?
What's that mean? I don't know that word.
Like Cam Jansen, like you remember everything?
Yes.
Like literally. So an eidetic memory.
If you bring up a Season 2 game when I was on Eager, I will remember the game. If you give me any details, I will remember the entire game.
If I give you a string of 10 digits,
I don't know about all
it's
that,
not
but like,
random shit. It's just Smite.
like if I'm punching in, like I actually did it earlier. Like I had to take like my flight like ID or whatever,
Yeah.
like to change a flight. Like there was like a 10-digit code. I have to remember it. Like I can remember the 10 digits. It might take me like 30 seconds to memorize it, but I'll remember it and then use it. Like there's stuff like that. Yeah, my memory is OP.
You don't smoke a lot of weed, do you?
Can't answer that.
Fucking memory, man. That's incredible. No, that's something that like I've spoken to other people about. Where I'll be like, yeah, you and Aurora have it. Where
Aurora has it too. Yeah.
Where
yeah.
I'll just be like,
Aurora and I were talking about. the most useless LAN ever, COG Invitational.
COG Invitational.
And Aurora and I were like going through the games, and we're like remembering it, and we're like, oh, dude, it was so laggy. It like lagged at this
the
fight.
AFK Gaming Lounge.
Yeah, and then I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty sure we should have lost that set, but you guys like hard engaged to Zapman. He was like split off, and I like kept re-alted him and got it revive. And then Aurora's like, yeah, you won the game off that. Like, I don't know how we remember it, but we both remember everything.
Like regular season games, LAN games, I understand.
In order, it's like LAN games, like based on important, like it's LAN games like in the finals and stuff, and then like obviously you move down. Then it's like online games to qualify or to clinch. Then normal online games in like the spring, and then it's like COG Invitational.
I don't see it like that's incredible. I love
Yeah.
this game. I watch over 40 hours of Smite a fucking week,
Yeah,
and
easily.
I couldn't sit here and that's something that I've talked a lot about. Where it's just like me and Agro will laugh and just be like, yeah, ask him about game 2 in season 3 versus his team, and you and Aurora will
you
be
know-
like, he beats at 7 minutes.
Have you paid attention to the NFL at all this
Yeah,
year?
yeah.
You know Sean McVay, the coach for the Rams? There's like a clip I saw on Twitter. I don't remember the show's name, but there was like a show on like NFL Network or something, and they went to Sean McVay, and they asked him about like football. It's even more insane because they're like, okay, here's a scenario. It's second quarter, like 3:44 remaining. You're on a 2nd and 10. What was the play? What did you run? And he remembers it. And it's not even like big plays. It's not even like a touchdown. It's like, yeah, we ran like a swing pass to, ran a swing pass to like Sammy Watkins for like 3 yards or something. It's like, what? Like, how do you remember that?
Dude,
it's
you
crazy.
do that. You see
yeah,
that
it is
you
crazy.
do that here, and
Yeah.
that I think is just fucking nuts. I give you a lot of credit, and I think that probably helps when it comes down to like VOD review.
Yeah.
You can
my
just
my
point
team
to-
always gives me crap because they're like, yeah, Mike is never wrong in hindsight, but like, I'm really not because I remember it well. And well, the other thing is like we'll go through a scrim, right? And we'll argue about like, where stuff went wrong or like, what we could have done better.
Sure.
And I'll be like, I'm pretty sure this Gold Fury fight we did something wrong. And they'll argue me on it. I'm literally, I have my record, and I'm literally scrolling through the game as we're doing this. Like before we're in the next game's picks and ban, I am looking through the damn game, and I will find the point, and they're like, I'm like, oh really? You think I'm wrong? Boom, Giazzo, like give it to them, and then they shut up a little bit, but I'll never get credit for that.
Just a little bit. It's your team, and we kind of went off track because you were wanting to speak about the game in general. But bringing it back to E United,
Right.
It's funny. You have the audacity to comment on some of your teammates. The biggest question I had about Baskin joining the squad though is more of a conversation here. Since we're at LAN, like online is one thing. At LAN,
Right.
you're in a small room. How is Baskin and Scream's ego going to fit in that room?
They'll be fine. They are always
Oh
fine.
no, I mean physically. How do the egos fit in the room?
They don't.
because they're so fucking big. I'm actually. I'll let you talk at it, but I feel the same way about Baskin joining this squad as when I felt Aurora Eager was put together. Everybody said too many cooks.
Like season 2 or like DJ Ziegler? Like
DJ Eager.
that- okay, yeah,
like
yeah,
too many
yeah.
cooks, too much ego.
Yeah,
and,
from the
and I
pro-
didn't buy it.
From the pro scene, that I remember every pro will tell you this. Anyone who remembers season 3 roster changes were all like, that team's going to blow up. Give it a split.
Yeah.
They'll blow up. And they didn't, and they worked really well. And I think we have a similar kind of identity to that where like you would think it doesn't work, but in game, we all work really well together. There have been games where we disagree, like we were 3-2 against Splice this split. I'm trying to remember what game of the 5 it was. I think it was the third game, which is the first one we lost to them. It was like game 1 in the second set. I think that's right. We disagreed with the way to pressure the map, and we had like a comp where we could play it a lot of different ways, and I wanted to play it one way, Baskin another, Scream another, Salt another, blah blah blah. So we all saw it differently, and then we went over it. And there's sometimes where that happens, but like that's an anomaly. Like most games, we'll all be on the same page. We'll all call like the same stuff. We're like completely cohesive. Like comms, everything. Like it's very fluid, and that's how it should be. And like I'll expect it to be that way at LAN, unless something really bad or dramatic happens, or like we're way off on the meta. Like it'll be like that. Like we'll all be fine in game. The place like ego, I won't even call it egos. The place where disagreements come are practice and theory. It's not even like in the game.
Yeah.
Most times. Yeah.
I'm really confident you guys coming in here. We'll touch on placements real quick. Any real surprises that you're expecting? Everybody seems to come down the list and say, the same,
So we've
Obey,
only-
Mouse, etc.
So, no offense to the teams. I don't think SK or LG have a shot. I think that they'll both be...
Does Nocturnes beat LG?
No.
Okay.
They maybe push it to a game 3, though.
Okay.
But they won't... I think them losing Beltway is, huge. I think he was their best player by far.
I agree, unfortunately.
So yeah.
If they have both Smitearo and Beltway, do they beat LG?
At least one game. I'm not going to say they win the set.
You
but
don't think they win
a
the
game.
set with Beltway?
No, they win a game, though. They win a game
I think they win the
guaranteed.
set with Beltway.
Maybe. It's probably close. But yeah, those two teams
An
aren't...
Xbox player.
Oh, do they really? I didn't even know that.
Inbound.
Oh, LG. I thought you meant Nocturnes had an Xbox player.
Oh,
I was
no.
what? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I know about yeah. Yeah, I think LG and SK, I don't really think have a realistic shot. They could maybe make a run and upset other teams, but they're not going to be the ones qualifying. They play the spoiler, the March Madness spoiler. That's their role. I think that we've scrimmed CLG
They're
and...
like Hofstra University.
Yeah, we've scrimmed CLG and Splice a lot. I've heard from Aurora that Trifecta's looked good in scrims. We haven't gotten a plan, but Aurora
People
said...
have been saying Trifecta.
Yeah,
are hot.
Aurora said Trifecta keeps improving pretty steadily. I think CLG looks a little bit better. I've heard from the Dig boys that Mouse looks really good. So my take on it is, originally, Obey has the easiest bracket because they're the top seed from EU, so they play the NA 6 seed, which is LG.
Yes.
And then after that, they play winner of Mouse Trifecta. So I thought they had the easiest road. If Prime, stays home to, have his child with, with all that situation, then they're probably not as favored. I think the way the bracket works is it's up here is Obey, and it's Obey and LG there, and then it's Mouse Trifecta here, assuming they all beat the global teams.
Right.
So I think it'll be Mouse and Obey meet there. If Obey has Prime, they win that. If they don't have Prime, they're losing that. So I think you'll see, and if you win that match, you're into Worlds, you qualify.
Yes.
So I think Mouse will call, judging off what the EUs have said, I thought it's going to be 3 EU, 1 NA the entire time. So I'm going to stick to that. I think Mouse makes it no matter what. I think Rival makes it no matter what, even though they've been shaky. I don't know what seed they'll be, 1 through 4 between that. I think Splice plays the 1 seed, Energy 2, us 3, Dig 4. That's how it orders, who you play from the bracket. I think any of us have a shot at playing Rival. So I think they'll make it. Mouse will make it. I think in the end, Obey will make it. And if I had to bet on the other NA team, the way the bracket works is CLG, if they are in the losers bracket, runs into whoever loses the Obey Mouse set.
Sure.
And I don't favor them versus either of those teams, I think. So I think they kind of get the short end of the stick there. And then I think it comes down to SSG versus Trifecta. And I probably just have to take SSG.
Really?
I think with having Dimmy, I think Ven will have a big tournament. I think Dimmy will help them. And even if Dimmy doesn't help them, draft-wise, he'll just make it, fresh. He'll just make it, he'll just make them feel refreshed. He'll make them feel more optimistic. Something's new. Having that will be really nice for them. So I think it'll be Mouse, Obey, Rival, SSG. And then I don't know what seed order. The only thing I'm fairly confident in is I think Rival will be in the top 2 seeds because I think Rival will beat SSG and SSG will come through losers. That's the only thing.
I'm with you on Space Station. I was very I wasn't riding the Space Station until the news about Dimmy came out, and I think that's been Space Station's kind of issue.
I think isn't it so weird how narratives work? You go SSG fell off a cliff, they're garbage now, but then you're well, and then they get Dimmy, and then you start thinking about it a little bit, and forget Dimmy, not in a way of he doesn't matter, but in a way of it's not even relevant to what I'm talking about. You think about it starts to play the other way where you go from they're overrated to now they're underrated, and you're disrespecting them too much. You got to remember I think it's personally been a while since Barrow was the best player on his team.
I agree.
In season 3, I think it was Mask. In season 4, it was Baskin. In season 5, at the start, it was Baskin. But Barrow still has lands where he pops off. Season 3 Worlds, he had really good games versus Emil, and they pushed him to 5. There's stuff like that. Barrow can still have good games. Aqua's had really sick lands all year. Aqua's a beast. And then Jeff and Andy know how to win games. So and then Ven obviously I don't need to speak on Ven. People know what I think of Ven. He's a sick player. So I mean, if you have 5 good players and they have a lot of LAN experience, I'm not going to bet on Sam and Paul, who have never played a LAN in SPL, and
That's fair.
Neil hasn't played a LAN since Oxygen, and Scary hasn't played a LAN since Season 4 Regionals, and Zatman, same thing. Like, I'm not going to bet on that over SSG.
I think that makes sense. Paul's been one of the more electrifying young players. I always say young. I just mean
As in
new to the
new,
SPL.
yeah. Young equals new, not like this guy's 12.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
we're sports guys. New players are young players. Like
Right,
they're coming
yeah,
in from
yeah,
college
yeah.
or whatever. But so he's one of the more electrifying rookie players, young players to the pro league. So I'm excited about that. But I'm with you. When you've got enough, stars aligning, Space Station just might be able to do it. That's going to be fun. Here's the easy question: who wins Worlds?
I think us, Dig, Obey, Rival, Energy, and Splice all have an even 1/6 chance.
Nice.
I'm being genuine.
No, because
we're all like,
usually,
yeah,
like
it's
I'm like, yeah, so like, who wins Worlds? And it's like me, and I go, okay, thank you for having, like, that's cool.
And if Mouse looks really sick, that might become 7 teams. Like if Mouse looks really good, I think it's a really even playing field, and it'll just be hard to tell. I think like I really like the way scrims develop between us and Splice. I think they'll do really well. I think we'll do well as well. Awesome. I think that Energy said they like been missing some scrims. Still an insane team. I don't care about that. Like Dig and Mouse, same thing. Like good teams. So yeah, we'll see.
It's gonna be dope. I think we say this every year, but I legitimately think competition-wise, format-wise, this we're a DreamHack is gonna be the best Worlds.
It'll by far be the most competitive Worlds the entire way through. 100%. No
really
doubt.
excited.
Yeah.
Really excited to hang out. Dope to have you here too. We never really get to do this, so kind of cool hanging
Yeah, it was
out.
cool.
Anything we didn't hit that you want to drive home, either about your team or otherwise?
I mean, I think we hit most of it. I mean, as long as people know I'm not roasting my team, like I'm just obviously not,
So if you guys are just tuning in, actually this isn't live, it's recorded.
Yep, here we
So if
go.
you like turned on the video and skipped to the middle, before he said fuck everybody on his team.
Right.
You just missed it. So
Yeah,
there it is. No, can we say fuck aggro on 3?
Is there a better way to do that?
If they're like
I'm thinking, give me a sec.
all right.
I probably got nothing.
No, I'm sure you got something.
Well, can we say fuck aggro and also fuck the Celtics because he's a bandwagon Celtics fan?
Yes! I love Gordon Hayward. Shout outs to you. Hang out my stream. But
Fuck aggro and fuck the Celtics.
fuck aggro and fuck the Celtics.
Boom.
That's it. Yeah, that worked. Hey, go to Mike's single. Now, no, that's me. I said go to Mike's single. Yeah, now tell them to like, comment, and subscribe to my YouTube channel.
Subscribe to his YouTube channel. Little Dom Mazzetti for the boys. Yeah, so, and like his videos and follow him on Twitter and his Twitch, which is twitch.tv/fswag.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
There it is.
Perfect. Yeah, we got him.
Hell yeah. Thanks a lot. Sweet. Peace. You can do the screen thing now, Alex.